It really is. I wanted to ask you, Your Eminence. I mean, obviously that was a terrible day. It came at a terrible time. What would you say the situation is now in Egypt with regard to oppression, acts of persecution regarding Christians? Is it still very much a problem in Egypt, or how would you characterize the situation now?
I think Egypt is very different now. Of course, that happened in Libya, but here in Egypt, and actually, just for your viewers, I'm actually in Egypt at the moment. I'm based in London, as you know, John, but I'm actually in Egypt in one of our monasteries in the middle of the desert on an ecumenical conference, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be with you. Here in Egypt, we've also had shootings, bombings, we've had destructions of churches, and especially around that time of the uprisings, of the Islamist governments, of that sense of testing of boundaries. We had one day where 100 churches and places of worship were attacked and or destroyed over a 48-hour period, trying to instigate a reaction from Christians and start a civil war for their own purposes. And that didn't work, because what we've experienced through all of those horrible situations is the fact that forgiveness is very much part of the Christian message and Christian ethos. That doesn't mean we accept persecution. It doesn't mean we accept the taking away of our rights. We will advocate for our rights. We will speak against oppression. We will speak against persecution. But we don't become hampered by a spirit of vengeance or victimhood, because I think they become quite debilitating. And so the situation now, we haven't had any of those major attacks, thankfully, within the last probably 10 years. There is still persecution, and there are still acts of aggression and violence in peripheral areas, predominantly rural areas. We just had a horrible attack on families just last week, where people were quite literally thrown out of a village, houses were burned, businesses were burned. It does happen, it's painful, and we deal with it. And at the moment, I don't think you would say there is systemic persecution of that kind. There are still glass ceilings, there are still less opportunities for Christians in both the private and public sector. But that kind